Horan. How are you? How are things?
Hi, how's it going?
Good, good. Thank you so much for being a part of this and for agreeing to talk to us. We're excited to ask you some questions and see what you say. And I think everyone will get a good bit out of this. So let's just get right in.
Let's
Tell
go.
us who you are, what you do, and maybe kind of one fun fact about yourself that maybe people don't know about you.
I am Andrea Horan. I'm probably best known for owning Tropical Popical, which is a nail bar in Dublin. I also do all these little side projects, whatever makes my heart sing. So I did a lot of work around the repeal referendum with the project called HunReal Issues. I have a podcast with my pod wife, Una Mullally, who's an Irish Times journalist. And we have a podcast called United Ireland. And then I run club nights. I love a bit of a disco dance. So yeah,
Good.
loads of different things. Whatever the mood takes me, I go and do.
Okay, amazing. And then what about maybe one fun fact that maybe people don't know about you?
One fun fact, I can't ride a bike.
Oh, okay, really?
Is that a fun fact or is that like a loser fact?
Yeah, it's just interesting. I feel like you just never learned, or
I tried. I just feel
yeah.
like I'm not a very balanced person, clearly.
Wow. Okay, amazing. Yeah, that is a fun fact. I've never heard anyone say that. So that's fascinating. So yeah, so you obviously mentioned Tropical Popical. It's probably like again, what you're probably most known for. Like, tell us like when did you start it? Why did you start it? And I guess, obviously you're like, do you call yourself an entrepreneur? Like, how has that kind of experience been thus far? And tell us a bit more about that.
I probably don't call myself an entrepreneur. I don't know what I am. I hate when people
Yeah.
try and make me be something. I
Yeah.
just am me doing my bits. And I started Tropical Popical. I went traveling with my sister after my dad died, and we took a year out and found ourselves and like worked through our grief and all that jazz. And before I went away, I worked in PR, so it was very much about selling and all that kind of jazz. And when I was traveling, my whole mindset kind of changed, and it was like, I don't want to be in an industry that's pushing people to buy things. I wanted to be in something that was making people feel happy about themselves without having to buy into consumerism. So I was like, what would be a gorgeous way to do that? And it was when we were in America. We were there for 90 days, so 3 months, and we were driving through America. And don't you know when you're on holidays with someone that you know really well? Don't you know when you see the old couples who've been together for 20 million years and they're sitting there and they have nothing to say to each other at dinner? That's kind of the way me and my sister were.
Okay.
So because we were together all day, we'd go for lunch and dinner like together. So nothing would happen that we didn't know. So we kind of got into this habit of getting our nails done all the time. And the joy of getting my nails done became this big, huge thing. And I watched it as the sociability of it, of how it was part of the community. It was a center of it. Like, so you'd see like mums and daughters going to get their nails done, then you'd see groups of friends and everything. And I was like, we don't have anything like that. Like, we've loads of amazing nail salons in Ireland, but they were like really luxurious and fab and like for special occasions. And I was like, I'd love something that was like, the music's really loud, it's like the crack, it's fun, it's somewhere you go as a social occasion that's not all about boozing, because we're so reliant on booze in Ireland. I was like, I want something that's not booze related. That can allow me then to do different projects out of that. So it's like a hub in my life that ticks along, that I work with amazing girls and guys. It's this piece of joy in my life that allows me then to do creative projects out of it, which I think they're what make my heart sing.
It's so cool. And you're so right. Like, there's just so little of those places where obviously we all have our places where we get our nails done, but not really like an experience or like a place that you go to like have fun. It's very much like job, get my nails done, in, out kind of thing.
And that was something we were really conscious of when we were setting it up. I set it up with my sister, so I'm lucky enough to we get on really well. Especially after traveling, our relationship got much better. And like, we were like, okay, nails are obviously important. Like, people are coming here for 6, but like that other 40% is the experience. So we're like, how can we make this a really fun experience that people look forward to, that it releases all your endorphins, and it's not just like the act of your nails, it's actually the act of the experience. So that was something that was like a huge thing for us.
Amazing. And like, is there kind of like one thing you've learned so far about like opening a business or running a business, or just kind of, how has that been as a bit kind of the business side of it?
The business, like I've learned so much about myself and the process. One thing I learned is that VAT is the bane of everyone's life. It's the worst thing in the world. I hate admin and I hate all that. So if you are thinking of doing your own business, get someone who likes all that stuff. And I think the main thing I learned is that you can't be good at everything, and that's okay. And you can't be like, I'm going to do everything. So me and my sister are literally each other's yin and yang. So she's really good at logistics. She's really good at running the show. She's really good at all that. Whereas I'm really good at the big picture and having the dreams and like, what else can we do and having ideas. And so when we put that together, that really makes the business function really well, because you have her kind of anchoring us down and then I'm flying away. So like it just makes it work. Whereas if I was trying to do that on my own, I would get absolutely lost in the day to day, because I would like, my mind doesn't work like that. I'd forget to order nail polish. Actually, we did forget to order nail polish when we opened. We had no polish. So people were coming in going, can we get our nails done? And we're like, we don't actually have any nail varnish, but thanks a million for visiting. It was like, aha. So that's where the 40% comes in. People were coming for the experience.
That's
We've gotten better though.
Yeah.
We've gotten better. Thank God.
That's such good advice. And I love that you actually gave like a tangible example as well of like why you need these things. So that's fab. So you actually mentioned some of your other little venture, not little, so patronizing, but your other ventures that you do in your time. Can you tell us some more about them, like your podcasts and like the HunReal Issues and different things like that? And I guess, yeah, just a general kind of how you balance it all kind of question.
I was very conscious when I started Tropical Popical that I wanted to create the life I wanted to live. So before I went into all my business thing, I was very cognizant that I didn't want to set up this business that was trying to take over the world and become this big franchise and like, we're going to be the biggest thing ever. It was like, that is not what does it for me. I think what I want to do is create a life that's manageable, that allows me to have enough time to have a good time. Like that's really important. And I think we don't put enough emphasis on pleasure in the world and in our lives, that like everything is driven by what is success and how do you make more money and how do you get bigger. And it's like, well, let's stop for a minute. And what are you doing trying to get all those things for? That to try and have pleasure in your life. So I, from the outset, was like, pleasure is going to be really intrinsic in everything we do. So from having a good time in the salon to how the work-life balance happens. So like, I wanted to be able to take holidays. I wanted to be able to, like, I don't like mornings, so we don't open till 11. So these were all things that happened.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to allow space in my life to do the things that I was passionate about. And I suppose that really came up really strongly for when the referendum for repeal happened, because I felt really strongly about it and I kind of gave my life over to it. And like Tropical Popical was kind of in second place because I was so focused on it. And HunReal Issues started as a way to throw glitter on an issue without minimizing it, and to be able to, like, I know how I interacted with politics and issues at the time. I'm not really a marcher. I don't like protesting naturally, and I know that's really important, but I was like, if I'm like that, I know there's other people who are like that. So that's where that came about. It was like, how do we make this a bit of fun, even though it's a really serious issue, but like, how do we engage more people? And if you're just angry and shouting all the time, that is not going to engage a type of person like me. And obviously there's a requirement for anger, because that drives progress and gets people like me on board. To I get angry and then I'm like, how can I change this? So I think that's where the HunReal Issues came from. And then the podcast was, myself and Una came together just 10 weeks before the referendum for repeal again. And we wanted to do something because everyone was so tired, and like to try and keep people moving along this most important time of the referendum, to keep their spirits up, to get them out canvassing and all that jazz. So we started a podcast called Don't Stop Repealing. It was really popular and people loved it and really got a lot out of it. And we got such good feedback. We were like, we should really do another podcast. So we started United Ireland, which is a podcast that looks at all the things that unites us as a country rather than divides us. So a lot of the time we can get stuck into the like things that we're like, that are different. as opposed to finding what brings us together. So we kind of look at issues and current affairs and our favorite tuna chicken roll each week, which is our favorite song. So we kind of mix it up so it's fun and serious, but it's like it's just a nice mix of people, because we're two different types of people. I'm much more like throw the glitter, and it is a lot more pensive, and so together it really makes it a really good, strong podcast, I think.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, so we've kind of touched on things briefly, but like, can you, talk about, I suppose, the intersection of business with social issues, and like, have you found that, say, like with Tropical Popical, has it like hindered you to be involved in social issues, or has it helped you, or like, have you noticed kind of a dynamic there at all?
Like a lot of the time, big businesses go, we need a CSR policy, and what are we going to focus on to do our good in the world or whatever. And that was never the case with us. Like, obviously the whole ethos of Trop Pop was to do good and have a good time. But we never set out to go, okay, that's going to be what we're going to focus on. It just like Trop Pop is kind of naturally an extension of me. And I got really interested in repeal, started the HunReal Issues. And it just started organically with, like, because we made t-shirts of the Mazer mural, and we started selling them in Trop Pop. And then it kind of just gathered momentum, and more went through Trop Pop. And then the girls got more involved in it. And then, so it naturally progressed in that way. And then when it was at the start, I definitely stood back. And because it was such a contentious issue, I was like, is this going to be problematic for my business? And will it, like, will we business fall off? And I had to make the decision. I was like, that might very well happen, but it's something you believe in and something you know is right to do. So you have to take that. So I did. So I think in the end, and something we've always been very clear on, is that Tropical Popical isn't for everyone, and that is totally okay. We're happy being a niche brand. We're happy that the customers who come to us love us, and then the customers who don't come to us, we're not for them. They want a different experience, and like being able to do that, I think, is one of our strengths. And I kind of figured, if we do go down the repeal route with our business, that is what happened. So the people who really like bought into that and supported that really admired us doing that. So I think if you like, having principles that you're going to stand by is definitely something to have in life, for sure. And that came through in my business, and we were lucky that people supported us and still do. So it was definitely a good thing in the end for the business. But I think that doesn't even cross my mind in terms of like, in the end, the good thing was that the referendum went through and women got their human rights.
Yeah, no, and I think it's such good. I think it's just a good kind of lesson in general, because with, like, you know, with business or with anything, people think that, like, oh, I have to appeal to everyone, and then I'll do good, I'll do well. But it's like, actually, no, sometimes if you actually just really focus on who are your group and who vibe with you, you'll actually do the best. And again, it's not like you were thinking, oh yeah, my business will do well or anything. It just was kind of a happy coincidence that, like, when you kind of focus.
100%. And often with a business, if you are too broad in who you're trying to target, it won't work. It actually works much better when you do figure out exactly who your customer is and tend to their needs really directly, rather than trying to be everything to everyone, which is definitely what we're not.
100%. Love it. Love it. Love it. And then, and you've kind of touched on this. I loved the phrase you used, like, to throw glitter on something. I can't remember what exactly you said. But yeah, like, I suppose, like, do you think about, like, obviously your personality is kind of just like fun anyway, so you probably don't have to think about it maybe too much, but like, when you're thinking about like an issue and you're kind of thinking, okay, how do I make this relatable or fun or whatever, like, is there any particular thing that you think about, or do you just do it?
I think I'm lucky that I had such a really good grounding in PR, so I understand how to market and how to communicate and how to figure out who your audience is and how to communicate to them directly. So that was definitely something that helped. But I think the thing that's very important is to think about what you're trying to achieve and what the goal is, and who's involved and who's impacted by that, and that you're respecting their feelings and how what's going to come out of that before you get to the fun part. So you have to know that, like, your fun is not going to damage anyone else. And then in terms of adding fun, I think it's like for HunReal Issues, it was like going to the things that interested the people we were trying to target, and like looking at what they loved, celebrities or whatever, and bringing that into it. So I think it's just a lot of the time it's not worrying about what other people, I know I'm saying think about the people who are impacted, so but that's thinking about the effect it will have, but then don't be thinking about what other people are going to think about what you're doing, essentially,
Yeah.
and to do what feels right for you. And once you're informed and weigh up everything, that you aren't minimizing it. So like I said, it is throwing glitter on an issue without minimizing it.
Yeah.
So that was really important, that like whilst we were doing all this fun thing, that we weren't minimizing the seriousness and the importance of what we were talking about.
Fab. Yeah, no, it's such like a fine line, I feel, but I feel like you and certain people just do that really, really well. So I always like, I just really like to ask people that question, because it's just like, how what is the magic recipe? But you're doing fab. So then, yeah, I guess, you know, you're obviously doing so much. What have been some like the highlights like from your last few years in your kind of career, I guess? Obviously, like, you know, being mentioned on Ellen DeGeneres Show, like, was one of them. Things like that, like what have been some of those moments, and like what impact, I guess, have they had on what you do, or the business or whatever?
um I think for Tropical Popical, obviously Ellen was a huge thing with Saoirse Ronan. Um, but I was most proud of the work we did with the National Gallery. So we teamed up with the National Gallery to interpret their artworks and to bring their art to a bigger audience, like a younger audience, and like who are into beauty and nails and stuff. And we went into the gallery each month and did manicures that reflected whatever the exhibition was. And as a result of that, we got such a good reaction. We ended up doing our own exhibition in the National Gallery of nail art. And for me, it was really interesting because women's art is often seen as craft and dismissed and not taken seriously. And also the interests of women is kind of seen as this like, oh God, it's fashion or it's beauty. But like, if you think about it, if you if like loads of women were standing around watching fashion TV every Saturday, it would be completely dismissed. Oh, it's just such a load of crap or whatever. Whereas you have like football that primarily is driven by men, and it's taken so seriously and given such, like, it has its own spot after the news. So for the National Gallery part, I was like, this is so perfect for positioning women's interests as serious, as positioning nail art as actual art, and for us to be able to have an exhibition there and for it to be credible as well was something that was really important to me. So that was my highlight for Trop Pop, I think, recently. For HunReal Issues, it was definitely when the mural that we did with Mazer on the Project Art Centre, when people started making that their own. So to see that fly, because we released the artwork as a free patent, so anyone could do whatever they wanted, and it was to see people making it their own and taking the ego out of the project and not making it about us or the artist or whatever. It was about the people, the goal and the task at hand. So that was probably for HunReal. And then I think for United Ireland, I think every episode, I think just the reaction we get from the people who love us is like that, the way we have serious conversations in a light-hearted way that isn't without banter and fun, even though they're serious, and tackling current affairs each week. So yeah.
Amazing. And then I suppose, yeah, so obviously like you're doing so much, and I'm sure you like learned so much over the years. Who are some people, either people that you look up to or that help you do what you do, or that have given you like really good pieces of advice over the years?
There's so many. Like I think Jane McDade in Think House, where I worked in PR for 10 years, was really instrumental in shaping how I approach things. My sister, who runs Tropical Popical, I'd be lost without her, and just her different way of doing things is like a learning. Una, who my pod wife, like before we were doing podcasts, if I had a question or something about politics that I wasn't sure, or anything social in that world, she became my oracle, I called her, because she was so good at being able to stand back and kind of break things down and looking at another angle. And then really, I think with watching young women thrive in politics, is really something that I'm really enjoying and really glad to see happening. Like the people like Holly Kearns and Rebecca Moynihan, and like people who are doing great work in politics and about issues that matter. And I think the new generation of politics is completely different to the way politics has been done up to now. And to see the rise in that is brilliant, and the change and how that is affecting our lives is brilliant. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And then, yeah, finally, you know, how do you measure success in your life? You know, whether that's, you know, for your business or just for your lifestyle. And you've kind of mentioned it that you maybe like you like to do exactly what, you know, what you want to do. But yeah, what are your kind of like, okay, if this happens, I'm happy or I'm successful. Like that's what I want.
I think with success, we've been sold a dud that as the ravages of capitalism have pinged in, that unless if you don't have a designer watch and drive this car and have this house and have this pathway and find your husband and get married and have kids, was kind of the route to success in the past. And none of that has ever been anything that interests me. So I had to figure out what my own success looked like and bring it back and actually try and not be influenced by what society told me was success. So I really did break it down after when I was traveling and kind of figure out, okay, what does success look like to you? And to me, it's that every day is as important as the next, that I'm not waiting for the weekend or counting down the days, or that holidays is something that is the only thing I enjoy. And I'm passing the days to get to that. It's like, okay, what can I do every day that makes the day count? And I don't mean like that you're changing the world or whatever. It's like, how does that day count to you, that you get a feeling of achievement, of joy, of fun, and that, yeah, making each day count really is success to me. And to be able to have a business that supports me and allows me to do all the things that I'm passionate about, that like don't make money, but that I have the freedom to be able to do that, is a huge thing. So whilst money doesn't drive me, I'm lucky that I'm comfortable enough to be able to do those things. So yeah, I think that's,
Yeah,
and that I end each day with a smile. Is that cheesy?
no, honestly, that's so good. And I particularly loved that, you know, you can kind of decide for yourself what makes a good day. So as you're talking, I'm even thinking, well, if, like, Lauren, you can say, well, if I get to go for a walk today, then that's a good day. And that's not a wasted day. So I love that. I think a lot of people will get something out of this. So,
and I know it's hard in COVID times to be like, what makes a great day? A walk. Oh, and is there anything to be said for another walk? But even in COVID, you have to find the things that make your day a success.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. That was so enlightening. And I think everyone, no matter what their background or what they're doing, will get at least something out of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.